So why is very simply context. And I think when we give people context, they better understand the orders they're being given, right? So for example, move this wall, move this fence from here to there, and then they'll do it. I mean, they understand how the rank structure works, but they may not be inspired and motivated. They may not feel like they're contributing to anything. And so simply offering context, right? Simply by saying, we understand that by having this fence here, we actually limit the distance that we can for our trucks to get through. It's making it more difficult for them, and we can only get one at a time. So what I want you guys to do is move it over there, because we need room to get more things through simultaneously, so we can move quicker. So move this from here to there. And so you're still giving the same order, but by providing the context, you're allowing for them to now be innovative. Because if all they were told was move here from there, then what happens if there's a big boulder? They don't know the reason they were moving it. Well, here you're asking them to solve problems, which includes moving the fence. And so you'll find much more ingenuity if they're in the loop, basically, if they understand the context. And I think this is very important, that the private sector does not understand, but it's very, very important to understand. The private sector thinks military is all command and control, right? Do this, do as I tell you, take an order. And so they think that being a strong leader, because they've seen too many movies, is barking orders and telling people what to do. Now, you know as well as I do that is a part of leadership, where I'm going to tell you a task without any context, and you're going to do it. But that is reserved for moments of chaos. And when there isn't chaos, you're spending time building trust, you're spending time offering context, you're spending time building the esprit de corps, so that when you are in a chaotic situation, you absolutely can bark orders and scream and yell, because I don't have time for feedback and I don't have time to give you context. And they will follow the orders with high motivation, because they trust that you would not give them an order that would needlessly put them at danger, even though they understand that you'll sometimes make mistakes. And so I think in business, in private sector, we need to learn to adjust as well, which is command and control works fine in short periods of time and moments of chaos, but it cannot be. Nobody has the energy to endure that on a daily basis. I experienced it during COVID. When COVID hit and we went into lockdown, my company was going to go bankrupt. I mean, all of our income came from in-person things. We weren't going to survive. And I remember I had a meeting with my team, and we're a very sort of lovey-lovey kumbaya, And I said, I care about your feelings. If I say something that upsets you, I want to know, but I don't want to know now. Tell me in 2 weeks. I said, because right now we're in survival mode, and I don't have time or energy to deal with all the frilly stuff. I care, but we're going to do it later. And it worked fine. And I went into command and control because we had to. It was a time of extreme stress, and it worked just fine because we'd spent years building the trust. The most important lesson I learned as a young leader was I don't have to know all the answers, and I don't have to pretend that I do. And the biggest skill that I learned that profoundly changed the course of my career is I learned to ask for help. And it is amazing that when you learn to ask for help with confidence, not, I can't do this, and can you help me? But I'm like, hey, I have no clue what I'm doing. Can somebody please help me what I'm doing here? Do you know how to do this? Because I'm an idiot. If you can learn to ask for help with confidence, it will have more impact on your growth as a leader and your growth in your career than almost anything else. Being the smartest in the room is not important. Being the one who's willing to ask for help is the most important. There's a big difference between being an entrepreneur and being a small business owner. Small business owners own small businesses, but entrepreneurs are problems. And you find entrepreneurs in government, you find entrepreneurs in large corporations. They're not simply people who start businesses. Richard Branson's an entrepreneur, but he doesn't own a small business anymore. And so I think we have to remember that, that an entrepreneur is a problem solver. And they don't go around solving random problems. That's weird. The best entrepreneurs usually have some sort of vision of the world that does not yet exist. In other words, they're idealists in some way, shape, or form. In their early years when they're young, it's probably some gut feeling. And later on, hopefully they can articulate what that vision is in terms that can inspire more people around them. And the ones that achieve scale definitely are capable of doing that. And so when I think about the optimistic leader, number one, they have to have vision. And vision is not like to build the best, most reliable, highest quality product. That's not vision. Vision is I imagine a world in which Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had vision. They imagined a world in which an individual could compete against a corporation. There was, fundamentally sort of like revolutionary spirit. And the personal computer was the mechanism by which they used to do that. If the company was founded 30 years later, it would be a tech company, not a hardware company. It's just nature of the times it was founded and the tools that were available. My own vision, I imagine a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired, feel safe wherever they are, and end the day fulfilled by the work that they do. Entrepreneurship comes in looking for the path that helps me move closer towards that vision. So for me, an optimistic entrepreneur is someone with vision and looking for the best tools to advance that vision. There was a great disservice that was done to capitalism over the course of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And that disservice was perpetuated by leaders like Jack Welch. And basically what they did is they made business in America more about value to a shareholder, an external constituent, over a customer or an employee. And remember, good old-fashioned Adam Smith capitalism, the kind of capitalism that made America great, the kind of capitalism that Thomas Jefferson studied. Thomas Jefferson owned all the volumes of Wealth of Nations. That form of capitalism believed in competition as a means of producing a higher quality product. We now live in a world where that's not really true. When a company, for example, announces mass layoffs to meet some arbitrary financial projection, we see a stock price go up. This is a big problem. And many of the inherent deals that were made between a company and its employer, a company and the customer, used to be, that we will work tirelessly in our competitive spirit to make a better product from you, and we will work tirelessly to look after our people so that our people give back years of loyalty. And unfortunately, this young generation has grown up in a world where mass layoffs are so normalized, where they've watched their parents or their friends' parents be laid off through no fault of their own. It was not a meritocracy. Just because the company missed, like I said, an arbitrary projection. It's profitable, just not as profitable as we expected. So you get to lose your job as a result. So I can go back and prove to somebody that I balanced the books, even though I'm doing long-term damage to the culture of the company. And that deal was broken. That deal was broken, that I'm going to take care of you and you're going to take care of me. And so it's very funny to me that companies lament that this young generation seems to offer no loyalty to the company when they have offered none for decades. And in the process of business becoming much more short-term, much more transactional, and the human element falling to the wayside, we've also seen a decline in a very, very, very specific skill set called human skills, right? I hate the term soft skills. Hard skills and soft skills. Hard and soft are opposite. That means they work in opposition to each other, right? Hard skills, the skills you need to do your job, and human skills, the skills you need to be a better human being. And both of those are important to be a great entrepreneur and a great business person. And though we teach hard skills and we teach how to read a balance sheet and what a P&L is, and we teach all of these wonderful things, unfortunately, we started to treat people like something on a P&L. And what we have to do better is teaching human skills. Human skills include things like listening, like empathy, like how to give and receive feedback, like how to have a difficult conversation. These are vital skills in a modern day that we don't teach, which means our business leaders do not have those skills. And if you want to build culture, if you want to build trust, you need these skills. If you want to manage difficult times, you need to have these skills.